This week in comic books in the lands of DC, well, we just don't have any. I have no DCs this week, unfortunately. But over in the lands of Marvels, we're going to go ahead and just stick a pin in this Sins of Sinister comic book that just came out. And in the land of Independence, we're going to talk about Ronin, the Lost Years, along with some other Turtle books. I think this is the most Turtle books I've ever bought. But first, let me try to sell you some comic books real quick. Just real quick. All right, guys, let's jump right into this week's comic book haul and review. I'm Pocangio, and I'm super happy that you're here. So let's go ahead and get going with Murder World. So we already know that this really isn't a #1 issue, but I did figure out the formula here. Maybe I'm a little slow on the uptake, but the reason why they're kind of going with an issue #1 is a different perspective from each one of the contestants in this kind of human live or die, win $100 million game. Marvel's version of the Squid Games, I guess, is the best way to put it. And this one, we kind of focus on who we found out to be Leapfrog and his character. I love the fact that they brought back the old carnival style of Murder World, too. And we kind of get his thought process and how he kind of takes in information and reacts to that information given his various roles that he's gone through in life, like always knowing an exit. Based. I got a feeling we're going to be saying that a lot in this episode. But regardless, it's okay. Like, I'm not super like, oh, I got to get this book. It's just a passive reading thing. I'm more entertained with the thought process of the contestants in this through their narrative than I am the actual, oh my God, they're going against Wolverine. Oh, it's a robot. You know, like they've done couple of times already. So we're definitely seeing the formula here. But now that we found an escape into the behind the scenes of this entire contest, and we know that there was a spy involved, let's see where it takes us next. Let's go ahead and get to the climax of this. This did not have to take as long. You could have done this whole thing in well, this should have been the last issue. Only 3 came out. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Next, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Now, look, sometimes we say hurtful things about comic books on here. Do not ever think that it is a direct stab at you, the viewer, by no means. This is bad. This is not, and I don't mean bad like, oh, I didn't like it. It's just not very well written. It's very hard to follow. And so the synopsis is in the beginning, right? We got Mr. Sinister, and he gets dragged off to the little island prison in Krakoa, and he's got a bunch of his own clones out there, clones that he's made that are all really just versions of him. And then eventually they take over the world randomly, and for some reason he randomly comes back, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to listen to you anymore. We're really in charge, and you're just like imprisoned on the island without all your cool tech to do your research and stuff. And they took a very long way around it. There were some cool things where they're like injecting the serum that kind of transfers or puts in an embodiment, I guess is the best way to put it, of Mr. Sinister into people. As weird as that sounds, right? So you're kind of giving him this new personality inside of a husk, if you will. It just seemed like it took forever. And there were some interesting things where, of course, where they splice characters together because it's all about genetics, right? Because with genetics, you can do anything. No. But, like there's a Spider-Man Nightcrawler first stretch there character in here. I don't know. It just seemed like for such a thick book, like this is hefty, and there's a lot of reading in here, which is good, as long as the story's good. The artwork's beautiful in here. I love it. I mean, look at these scenes like this right here. Like, beautiful scenes in it, and then it just seemed like the most story ever, and how these clones just kind of fixed everything. But I'm going to argue that they're not really clones. I understand he's using his genetic makeup to make these particular creatures or whatever else, but they seem to think on their own. They don't act like him in any way. None of the personality traits are there. So I don't know. I'm not a geneticist, but normally when we see it, we see like a mimicked copy of a copy type of thing. So I don't know. Nah, not really into it. So moving on to Yoda. So this is pretty cool. So you remember in the last story, Yoda was like, oh, the kid, that he was working with killed somebody, and Yoda's like, oh, you didn't really listen to me in any way. You're just out doing your own thing. That's it. I'm out, son. And he flies back to his Jedi council, right? Well, some years go by, and our young character turns into a middle-aged man, and Yoda comes back because there may be a boogaloo that's about to jump off. And the young people in this particular village, they're like, no, we ain't having this, son. That's me trying to be youthful. Right? And with brash and reckless self-righteousness, have a problem with this other tribe. Yeah. So it's the racisms. So, defeat them, go to war with them. So they go off to the kids' village because they dare to, kind of sort of come by where these kids' families' village fish. They dare do that. And they go and they kidnap a kid, right? Way over the top, right? Bring the kid back. And the one who should have learned these lessons a long time ago, and he did, is like, whoa, everybody needs to settle down. We don't need to be going to war over this. Everybody needs to relax. And everybody's just seeing him as a coward, or why isn't it? He's got these great war stories behind him that are just exaggerated. And Yoda pops back into the picture, and he's like, let's see if you really learned anything while he's playing his little music box. And nobody's really kind of paying attention to Yoda in this, right? Well, come to find out, this other tribe's been starving, and they've had to expand their hunting grounds. So, yeah, they're going to be seen every now and then by these self-righteous children out there. And Yoda's like, sometimes you don't always need to go to war. It's probably a good idea to kind of find out what's going on first. For a Star Wars comic book, that's pretty based. So come to find out, they're starving, but you know what? We can all work together, we can all eat together, and we can, get along to some function degree. There's always going to be conflict when groups of people meet together. I get that, but I'm not a component of tribalism by no means. Some cases I kind of am. I'm just, right? But all in all, I like the messaging in this story, and it's an issue 3, so I'm assuming something else is going to happen. I don't think this is a 3-issue run, but yeah, let's get some more of this and see what happens inside of there. Next, Spider-Man. I would be more on point with Amazing Spider-Man if there wasn't so much Spider-Man, like the multiverse, universal duplicates of them everywhere. I would probably be more drawn to this. It's gimmicky, it's cartoony, and there is some fun aspects to it. But in this one, we get a character named Rick Rapp, who's just a hell version of, not a cool one, like a cartoony one, of Spider-Man. And of course, he says everything wrong, and he shoots his webs by doing this. He's all pew pew, splat splat. Right? He's in there doing that. And again, I would be more inclined to read this. But the fact of the matter is Chasm at this point, who's a clone of Spider-Man, can't get away from that, is now taken over Limbo thanks to the help of female Jack Lantern character. She put on a mask, a Halloween mask of Frankenstein, and turned into Frankenstein and stole the magical woo-woo Sith thing to make it all happen, to control all the demons in Limbo. Whatever. Well, now they're all going to break out and just turn New York into a hellscape. Not a whole lot of work there. And just take it over. So what does this mean? Ultimately, the X-Men are on point in this one, so we're going to have a team up in the next one. And we're going to get this ridiculous characters mixed with the X-Men, and we're going to try to settle this kind of cartoon, demon, hellish thing going on. That's a horrible review for reasons. All right, next, we're going into Independence. Got a lot of Independence this week. I'm actually kind of excited. So, Dracula Yeah, this is an ash can. It was a one per store advertisement. So what they call in Blood Simple. This takes place in Vampirella world universe, if you will, and her whole line. I don't know much about it, and what I read from this, seems like a pretty interesting story for the most part. It reads like an old school Vampirella, really. So not really much to review here since it is an advertisement, but I'm going to try this again. We're going to go with Dracula Lena. Can I just say Lena and everybody just give me a thumbs up for that? That would be awesome. All right, next. All right, Archie versus the World. If you like Mad Max, Thunder Road, that whole thing, and you're an Archie fan, I think there's like a handful of you out there, you may like this. But the coolest thing about this is I'll even go ahead and go on record saying this, if you like manga, you would probably like this too. The art style in it screams very much manga. You get all your Archie characters that you like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Josie and the Pussycats, and all that. And basically, it's just a quick run through of him getting from point A to point B, seeing his friends, fighting the big baddie at the end, and then realizing that although all these women want him now in this hellscape post-apocalyptic world, he needs to be alone, be the lone warrior out there. So, it's a breeze. It's a fast read. It's heavily reliant on its kind of manga influence that it's got going on there. I don't really like seeing it being a huge valuable book or anything like that, but I thought it was a cool take on Archie. All right, next we got The Last Ronin, The Lost Years. So I felt like we've already kind of heard this story in the first Ronin series that popped out a while ago. I thought we kind of got this already in the narrative. I could be mistaken. Maybe it's just such a familiar tale, or archetype, I should say, that we kind of already know it. So Michelangelo, after the death of all of his turtle buddies and the rat and everything, the world has gone to hell. He did what you would see in most spaghetti westerns and things like that. The man has to go out there on his own. He doesn't care if he lives or die. And then he finds simplicity, right, to be a virtue, right, like meditation, gardening, and focusing on oneself. But as men of action often get forced back into action, he gets met up with some punks that try to, they want to put it to him, right? They literally try to split that skull right open. And he fights back. And it kind of tells us where Michelangelo was as the last turtle, kind of focuses on that. We also get a brief caption of April O'Neil, her daughter Cassie, kind of teaching these young turtles that they have now, these baby turtles. I didn't finish The Last Ronin, so I'm not sure where these kids are coming from. But they don't seem as sophisticated as the original Ninja Turtles. But it was kind of cool seeing them do things and act. And I don't know why. Somebody help me out with this. I'm going to bring this up as close as I can. You see April right there? Yeah. Why does she look like David Bowie with a red wig? Remember from the 70s, that haircut he had? I'll show you again. Yeah. All right. Next, Darkwing Duck. Yeah, I picked up a kid's comic book. Read through it. If you liked Darkwing Duck back in the day and you want to get your kid involved in Darkwing Duck and possibly even involved in reading, this is good. It kind of follows the formula back from when Darkwing the cartoon came out, right? It's just kind of, you rely on family, you rely on friends, even though you're kind of a goofball. Everybody needs a little bit of help, regardless of who you are in life's little situations and even mysteries. So yeah, it's pretty simplistic. Don't get involved. But if my daughter was 12 or something again, I'd be like, here, you want to read a comic book? Oh, we can talk about it together. We can talk about the interactions of the people in it. And is that something that can actually happen in life? All right, next. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, right, we got all the villains from both of those properties and all the heroes from those properties. We do this really cool thing with the heroes where they do a shadow coin morphin thing. some Powerbunga stuff. I think that was actually used. That was actually said in there, Powerbunga, right? Where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of get the morphing outfit suit, if you remember the cartoon or the movie or show. All three, I think, actually. And of course, they're all fighting their prospective bad guys, right? But the interesting thing here is Space Witch Retta is trying to get a hold of Zorgon. Now, I'm not a huge Mighty Morphin Power Ranger expert. You're going to have to go someplace else for that. If you're one, definitely comment down below and say, hey, I'm a Mighty Morphin Power Expert Ranger. I can answer any questions in this comment. I'm sure there's going to be some after this review. Anyway, Space Witch wants Zorgon. So, they go attack the headquarters of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And this whole entire time, well, both issues, Shredder's just kind of missing. He's just kind of out of the picture. And he, of course, shows up in this. So will he be a good guy? Will he be a bad guy? Will he be a gray man? Just kind of something in the middle that doesn't like anybody. That would be interesting. I hope they go that route. That would bring some dynamic to a story. Oh. So he shows up at the end to save Zorgon. We also got Casey Jones, right? He's an evil Power Ranger, but there's something going on there, right? They hinted at that in this particular story too. So, you're only 2 issues deep. If you like this kind of stuff, I would definitely run out and try to grab it. It's capturing my attention. And again, this really isn't my genre of comic book reading. So it's good to experience new things. And I'm enjoying this so far. As ridiculous as some of the stuff is, I'm legitimately enjoying it. Next, Junkyard Joe. So this brings up, our heartfelt moment of the show, right? So we're dealing with a robot, and we're kind of showing what PTSD would look like in it. And this one, we start talking about some of the quirks with Junkyard Joe in here being kind of fanatic about cleaning and being helpful inside of a place, right? This is not an unusual aspect when somebody does suffer from PTSD and they kind of isolate themselves and they become... You can actually see the same thing in prisoners, right, that have been locked away for a long time. They generally get this kind of cleaning aspect where everything's got to be nice, neat, organized, clean, right? In that aspect as well. Not saying that is or isn't PTSD, but it is a trait that people fall back on when they are suffering from something. So I thought that was interesting. And Muddy Waters in here, his Vietnam buddy, right, does something that I wish all veterans would do. He takes him to go get him help. Now, unfortunately, he has to take him to the VA. So he takes him to the VA to sit down and talk to somebody. So why do I say that this is a big thing? So because I see this happen a lot. Hey, man, you seem kind of bummed. You seem kind of down. Of course, you always blow the person off because that's what guys do, right? And then it's like, hey, let's just drink a beer, or something along those lines. And that's never a good solution, right? I'm not a teetotaler, but, not the answer either. It takes him to go get him help in the whole 9 yards, and it just really doesn't work out. So, as I always say when we kind of hit these heavier subjects, if you are somebody that is suffering from PTSD, intrusive thoughts, you just can't get, a bad thing out of your head, don't drink alcohol, go talk to somebody, even if it's VA. Okay, next. Creepshow. So again, here we're dealing with vanity. We've got 2 stories. Most Creepshow comic books and movies and stuff generally often kind of hang on the vanity thing. Here we have a homosexual male who is very concerned about his youth and his looks, and he makes a deal with the demon using his phone, selfie, the whole 9 yards, keeps him young. And if he loses his phone with all of his selfies in it, of course, he'll grow old again. That kind of happens on a hookup that he does. And it just doesn't work out in the end as the demon slowly consumes him as he grows older. Right? And then the other story kind of deals with the whole debutante aspect of things, the southern coming out parties of young ladies right around the age of 16 or so, and the vanity of that, and wanting to carry on a as far as I'm concerned, a ridiculous tradition, but it does happen out there. So that's my comic book haul and review. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments down below. What did you pick up? What happened in DC this week? Will somebody let me know? Because I can't catch up on comic books. I just don't have the time to do that. So if you're a comic book reviewer out there and you got some DC stuff happening on your channel, let me know. I think that's probably why these channels probably help the most. Other than that, I got Evil Layer projects and builds. We're making something for a friend of ours, Beckerman, here in the community, in the comic book community. That should be done any day now. I know I'm cutting this one super close. I'm always cutting them close. But this one's super close because I ran out of a particular type of sand that I needed. I had to order it. Excuses. They're excuses. We're still going to finish on time, though. That's what we do. Other than that, definitely check out my auction, get registered for that, or just take a look at it. That's all I ask. If you see anything or have any questions, you can always hook me up on Instagram, or you can comment down below. Those are two easiest ways to get a hold of me. All right, guys, I got nothing else. I got to get out of here. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.